10. Yes, Lord. And today I will tell you a special story.
Yourselves and your families in a foreign land. This land was unheard of, but its legacies were known. None of these passengers knew what Canada would be like.
To explain our topic, we showcase a speed drawing recorded beforehand to outline the personal narrative within a large-scale historical event. Afterwards, the class had a reflection circle.
Okay, let's go. What do you guys think of the video? Like, thumbs up, thumbs down? What do you guys think about it? Good? Yes.
In the Parliament building in Victoria, they did have an apology for the Commonwealth government. So they did apologize to the Sikh community for this incident. So I think that they're improving, but they've not improved fully because of the immigration that's happening in Canada.
Even though the government did apologize twice, I feel like that doesn't really fix anything because all those people had still passed away, and then it doesn't change how like their thoughts were back at the time, and that they should have thought about this while the situation was happening. That these people are gonna go back, they're gonna have no food, no water, and all they want is to come to Canada and live a free and happy life. They should have thought about it more, or they should have at least provided them with some supplies. So the apology, yes, I get it that now they've changed, but they should have thought of it. It's too late.
Okay.
The Gurdwara, like there's programs there, so my parents, they made me go there. And then there was a lecture about like the Kamagata Maru. So I learned it there, and then I learned it at school.
Now, was the lecture for kids or was
Yeah,
it
for kids?
Was for
like,
kids.
in English, they do that every semester.
Did you find it easier to learn at the Gurdwara in English, being taught by someone?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Parents and my grandparents, they always tell me stories about what's happened in our history, and I don't remember when, but once my grandparents told me about that.
And was it in context, like did they explain it through, like say, parts of your own family where they saying, oh, like someone like your Chacha or your Thaya, they were part of this, or was it like, no, this happened in history and we're going to explain it to you?
No, it was like this happened in history.
Okay, interesting. And was it in Punjabi? Yeah.
In grade 3, my nanny, she always used to tell me stories about like Sakis about these things, and then when she first told me the story, I'm like, but like when Guru Gobind Singh Ji was there, did they have both? She like wanted to teach me about our history, but I thought she was like telling me when I was like the Gurus were there, so I didn't really understand what she told me. But I learned it there too, and then I actually got what they were saying.
She gave us a sheet of paper to describe how it should have been, like what could you have been changed in our history. That like, what if you were the Canadian government? What could you have changed?
The Canadian government wasn't only like Canada, it was also other places, like the British were part of it, and I think they had a part of it, that's why they didn't let them board and they didn't want them to go there. So if I was the Canadian government, I wouldn't have let them, and I basically would have thought of the future, and Canada would have been probably a lot more lively in those ages.
How does this transition from a story of personal heritage to real Canadian history? Like something you would learn in your social studies class?
So why is it important to you, basically? Like, why should you as a person care about this right now?
Because like stuff like this always happens, like ships sail, everything gets transported. In Quebec there's a river that they help from different provinces. They use boats to like transport stuff, so like we could help prevent this happening in the future. Even though it's one country, I know it doesn't really make that much sense, but in the future there are oceans, we have oceans, we do use ships. So if we try preventing this from happening and we learn from this experience and how those people that were on the boat suffered, we can prevent this from happening in the future.
So how and when did you guys first learn about the Kamagata Maru?
Grade 3. How you saw in the video, it's a very personal story. Yeah, it's a story for our community, but it's a personal story for a lot of people as well.
This is how my family got here, because we're all not from this land, right? And this is how this story is, and what's the connection there?
That my nanny said that when she came, it was hard for her to find a job, and that like a lot of people around her, like some people were friendly, but a lot of people like didn't really get who she was or where she was from.
So what and how do you define racism? So like define that, and then how does it apply to the story of the Kamagata?
Racism is when people are judged by how they look or what their religion is, what their skin color is, or how they talk, their names and everything that defines them as different. And I think this how this relates to the Kamagata is when they did come from the ship. For example, if it was England, Canada would have welcomed them in open hands because they were England. Their skin color is different. They're kind of the same because Queen Elizabeth still has monarchy over Canada, so they would have welcomed them with open hands. This is all because of religion. This is racism because they were Sikhs, so they sent them back since they had a different skin color, since they had a different religion, they talked differently, they had different names, so they weren't accepted here because they didn't think that they could do the stuff that they did in Canada.
Do you think racism still looks the same today? Or do you think we solved racism?
There's still a guy right below us over there who's building a wall right now.
Do you think it's a Canadian thing too, though? That type of mentality that Trump era has brought? Do you think that would happen in Canada, or no? Is that just an American thing? Who thinks it would happen in Canada? Who thinks it wouldn't? It's just Americans. So for those of you who put up your hands that it would happen in Canada.
No, I'm just saying it depends on the government. If it's a bad government or is it the government that gives to people?
Depends on who gets elected.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the question. Do you think someone like Trump would get elected here?
I mean, Trump got elected.
Yes.
In social studies and our history books, what they did is that now they're trying to add Kamagata Maru in our curriculum.
This is our history! Bapu, it's story time. Yes, but, and today I will tell you a special story. One that you and a lot of Canadians haven't heard. Manpreet jumped onto her Bapu's lap and she noticed that he's not holding a storybook. Manpreet thought to herself that Bapu must be telling one of his own stories. This was her favorite kind of story. And so the story began. Once upon a time, there was a young boy from a small village in Rakot, Punjab. This young boy's name was Gurdev. Gurdev was the oldest of his 4 siblings. His sisters Gelo and Mito had 4 children altogether, and Gurdev was very fond of his nieces and nephews. Gurdev worked on his family farm, harvesting wheat alongside his father and brother Baldev. Although he did not enjoy this work, Gurdev knew he must do what he can to ensure the mouths at home were fed. One day, after a long day of working in the fields, Gurdev began walking back home and stumbled across a flyer that read, "Canada, the land of opportunity. Kamagata Maru departs soon. All aboard." Gurdev had heard about Canada as being a place of freedom, without political and economic issues, a land where education was available for all, something that Gurdev was never privileged enough to receive in this little village. Gurdev continued his walk home, and when he arrived, he saw that his nieces and nephews were playing hopscotch. Gurdev thought how much he loved his sister's children just as much as they were his own. He wanted the best for them and allowed them to have every opportunity that he couldn't. Gurdev wanted his nieces and nephews to pursue an education and become anyone they want. He did not want his nieces to simply be married off as housewives, nor did he want his nephews to be forced to work in the same fields as he did. Gurdev went to sleep that night, and he dreamt all about Canada. He envisioned a house filled with his happy family members, his nieces and nephews learning to read at school, and he had the freedom to conquer his own dream of becoming a teacher. The next morning, Gurdev woke up, got dressed, and he knew he had to board the Kamagata Maru. He packed his belongings and began to express his feelings to his parents and siblings. "Be careful, my put. Are you sure you want to embark on this journey? Canada is far, far away, and you've already witnessed the repression we face from the British here. Our Punjab is not the same that it once was. Are you sure you want to get on the ship? Are you sure you will find a better life filled with opportunity?" "Yes, Bapu," Gurdev said confidently. "I want more for us and the children. I want us to prosper in a land of freedom where our family name can grow and be successful." "All right then, it's settled. We'll take you to the Patwadi in the morning and arrange for your departure." Tell your mother to make some prasad with you to pack for your suitcase. The villagers had mentioned that the ship was departing in a few days. The arrangements were made and everything was ready to go. Gurdev was to leave his village and his family and climb aboard the Kamagata in search of a better life. Call us when you land. Do you have everything? Did you double check your paperwork and passport? Did your father give you enough money? Gurdev's mother kept speaking to put off goodbye. Everyone had teary eyes as Gurdev was departing. Nobody knew when the family would be united again. It could be a few short months or years on end. Hanji Bibi, said Gurdev as his voice cracked to hold back the tears. Gurdev said his final goodbyes and grabbed his one suitcase and gripped the wallet his grandbapu gave him with a bright, shiny, brand new $20 Canadian bill. He climbed aboard the bus that would take him to the docks. Gurdev got to the docks and he knew that he would see so many excited passengers. Gurdev could not recognize anyone he knew. However, he did recognize that a lot of the passengers were like himself. Young men around the same age as him. A few were wearing old military badges. Some were wearing bugs. Others were wearing taquillas. But all were here for the same reason. Everyone was leaving behind their past, their childhood memories, the only motherland they ever knew, and were searching a better life, for freedom for themselves and their families in a foreign land. This land was unheard of, but its legacies were known. None of these passengers knew what Canada would be like. The ship departed from the dock of Calcutta all the way to Hong Kong before it would reach to the port of Vancouver, Gurdev's new home. On the ship, Gurdev befriended Amir. He was a Muslim man about the same age as Gurdev from Lahore, Pakistan. During the journey, Gurdev and Amir shared stories of how their lives had shifted since the British entered India and the split of Punjab into two. My Abu is very sick and he wishes that when he becomes old and passes away, he wants us to split his ashes in two. Abu wants part of him to lay and rest in the land of his childhood, Punjab. He wants the other half to be let go of him in the waters of Vancouver, the nation where his family will create new, better lives full of opportunity for themselves. Wow, Amir, I'm really sorry to hear about your Abu's condition, but I believe that you're doing a very brave and courageous action by coming aboard. I hope that Canada can make all of your dreams come true, said Gurdev. My Bapu also tells me how the British have entered our land and sucked our cultures and colors of our Rangala Punjab dry. I know what you mean, Gurdev. Our motherland was split by foreigners, and I hope to see you one day for it to reconnect peacefully. But I feel we must learn to bite our tongue about our strong opinions on the British. It's their land we're entering. They have the power over us now, said Amir in a sad and firm tone. You're right, my brother. I suppose our hatred for the British should now be silenced away as they give us a chance at opportunity and our new lives. We must do this to ensure we are accepted once we reach Vancouver. We shall be on our best behavior, said Gurdev. The journey continued. The ship had made its stop in Hong Kong, and it was traveling for many months before reaching Vancouver. On this journey, Gurdev and Amir became great friends. They had the hope of purchasing home for their families in the same neighborhood, close to a gurdwara, a mosque, a school, and a park. This was their dream. The two hoped to bring their families to Canada, yet ensure their future children would grow up with the same culture and same religion backgrounds that they had, opportunities to new education. This was the ultimate Canadian dream for Gurdev, Amir, and the rest of the passengers. On May 21st, 1914, the ship arrived to Vancouver. Gurdev, Amir, and all the passengers grabbed their suitcases and were ready to touch Canadian soil for the first time and began to get right to their families about their arrival. However, to their surprise, Gurdev, Amir, and their fellow passengers were not allowed off the ship. The Canadian government refused them, claiming that they did not come on a straight, continuous journey from India and couldn't be accepted as immigrants. This left Gurdev and Amir absolutely heartbroken. Their dreams were shattered on the spot. Over the next few weeks of being held captive on the ship, Gurdev heard murmurs of Gurdit Singh, one of the elders leading the ship, going to court for this. Gurdev prayed that the Canadian government would accept them. He could not come back home empty-handed. Gurdev and Amir had their dreams planned out for their families, and they could not see it fade. After an appeal battle by the Supreme Court against Canada, the passengers had accepted their fate. The court found no law in the Canadian or British context that gave the passengers the right to enter. Devastated and heartbroken, Gurdjieff braced himself to continue his journey back home. He observed that the ship was low on food and water supply. Gurdjieff noticed there were so many passengers and not enough food nor water. This journey was supposed to be a one-way trip. The Canadians did not even supply basic necessities for a journey home. The days went on. People cried and sobbed. Some feared how they would survive back home, since the sold land and livestock became before departing. Gurdjieff reached for the $20 bill that his Bapu handed him and angrily ripped it to pieces before letting it fall into the deep blue ocean. Gurdjieff tried to cheer himself up sometimes, knowing at least he'll be at home with his family, but due to the low food and water supply and terrible conditions of the ship, neither Gurdjieff nor Amir reached home. Gurdjieff's family heard the news of what happened to him. They were absolutely distressed and heartbroken. Bapu blamed himself for letting his son go to the foreign land. His hate for the British grew stronger after the cruelty his son underwent. Bapu drank his sorrows away in alcohol until he died at the kitchen table with a bottle to his mouth. Gurdjieff's nephew, Binder, was so sad when he finally understood what happened to his chacha. Binder wanted to do something about this cruelty. He wanted to ensure that his chacha's dream came true one way or another. Binder worked very hard and would farm the fields, work as well as pay for his university education. Eventually, Binder became an engineer and he applied for a visa to Canada, where he raised his family and completed his chacha's dream. Bapu, isn't Dad's name Binder? Asked Manpreet. Yes, both. It is. Gurdjieff was my younger brother and your chacha. This story is about his journey, but it's also our story. Now it's up to you to share this story and teach your friends. We all see Canada as a country of freedom, but we must not forget the oppression and cruelty our ancestors faced. This is the same oppression and cruelty that built the foundation of the Canada we know today.